This is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to continue working in my Ireland scrapbook, and we're going to continue working on the October virtual crop sketches. I know we are well into November now, but this one is an October sketch, and I didn't want it to go by the wayside because of course we're working on Blarney Castle right now, and this is our first foray actually at the castle. And so I wanted to kind of, I don't know, this layout from October virtual crop just sort of said, this looks like a castle to me. So you'll see when well, you've already seen the thumbnail, so you see what the finished sketch looks like. But it's a cute one, and I think it really lends itself well to photos of a castle. So we're going to put it together. Let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. All right, this is my workspace for today, and you can see I've got lots of punches out for today. We didn't have hardly any last time, and now I've got probably way more than I need this time, but that's okay. I pulled them just in case they were things I might want to use. So you'll recognize this as the right hand side of the layout that we did this last time. I'm going to show you what's underneath this page in just a second. So we've got permanent and repositionable adhesive, and as you know, those are always out, and I use them, both of them, almost in every layout that we put together. But I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to do a 2-page spread today that is based on the October virtual crop sketch number 3. And I've got some things penciled in here for myself just to remind me which paper I'm doing what with, just because my brain sometimes gets excited and then I lose track of what I'm doing. I've got 3 papers here that we're going to use. I've got the remainder of a sheet. This is not a full sheet, but the remainder of a plaid sheet from the Ireland theme pack of papers that came out earlier this year. I've got a piece of blue cardstock that matches the blue in the plaid here perfectly. And then I've got a piece of paper from Reminisce that is called Killarney National Park, but we're not going to use this side because we haven't reached Killarney National Park. That's coming up. I'm going to use this side, which you've seen before. I've used this in another layout, but we're going to use this today in this layout. Okay, so we're going to use these 3 pieces, and we're going to create a page regarding these photos. These photos are taken from inside and outside the castle, but the dungeon area, okay, the Sentry and the dungeon area. And so I have 5 of them. They don't really go with any of the other photos, excuse me, any of the other photos that we took, so they're getting their own layout because they really tell their own story. And in this photo right here of a plaque that was on the wall, it's labeled and has all of these things here that explain where everything is inside the castle, which I thought was cool. But the best part, I thought, was that it shows really how tall it is. This is the attic up here, so that's 1 level, 2 levels, 3 levels, 4 levels, 5 levels, and below that is the dungeon. So that's a huge, huge, tall castle. And later when you see the photos that were taken of the climb, and of some portions of the climb that it took to get all the way up to the top of this, you'll be amazed. So that's why I wanted to make sure that we included that. All right, so first of all, let's cut some pieces that are going to be necessary for this layout. So I'm going to just remove my pages and set them up here for right now. And I'm going to move this over here so that I have a reference. I have these punches out because the sketch indicates that we need some kind of a decorative punch to go in these areas. And also some sort of a decorative punch to go down here. And so I wanted something kind of building-ish, or something that would kind of go along with the building. So that's why I pulled out the bricks, and I pulled out this, this is a Croptober time frame vine that came out several years ago. I don't remember the year, but it's been out for a long time. So if you don't already have this one, finding it's going to be really tricky. And then this one, which is the Leafy Vine, which is also really cool. And I thought these would be some fun things maybe to add. And if these were too big, there is a smaller version in a Border Maker cartridge. This is called a Leafy Vine, or the Sprout. Sorry, this is called the Sprout. And so it's a little bit smaller. So that's also a possibility we could use for either of these decorative portions. And I'm not going to really decide that until we get there. All I do know is that the one that's going to go up here is going to be using this plaid paper right here. The one that's going down here is tentatively going to be punched out of the rock paper. So let's see how that goes. I'm not completely sure that that's going to work, but it might. All right, so I'm going to grab my 12-inch trimmer, and I'm going to scoop these out of the way until we get there and are ready to need to make a decision where punches are concerned, so that I have a little more room. All right, so first thing we're going to do is the white sections right here are going to be made with the rock paper. So this white section here is 7 by 9, and this one is 4 by 5. So first I'm going to take off this blue section up here because we don't need that. And so we'll get rid of that and toss it. Actually, I'm just going to set it there so I remember to put that in the comments for you. All right, so we need one that is 7 inches wide. So I'm going to cut a piece. Actually, first I'm going to cut this way, and I'm going to cut this at 9 inches. Okay, because it's going to be 9 inches high, 9 inches this way, 7 inches this way. So we're going to cut the 9 inches off, and that's so that if I need to punch this, I have that 12-inch piece to punch. Okay, so then we're going to turn it back, and we're going to cut this at 7. All right, so here's our 7 by 9 inch piece. Then we need a piece that is 4 by 5. So this piece is 5, but we need it to be 4 inches. So we need it 5 inches this way. So let's just go ahead and cut this 5 inches this way. And then we can come back and cut this at 4 inches. Okay, so there's that. So those two pieces are going to just sit right there. Those are going to wait there until we make a decision on some other things. We need 2 pieces of blue that are the same size as our rock pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing again. We're going to start with the 9-inch cut. And we're going to turn that and cut it at 7 inches. Of course, it's super easy with the cardstock because it really doesn't matter what direction you go with that, right? And we're going to turn this again and cut it at 5 inches. And turn it back and cut it at 4. All right, so there are our main pieces for the top. Now we have an additional piece over here, but we're going to wait till we see our photos on here and determine where that's going to need to be. And I may need to pull out another piece of cardstock to use that. But we need a 1-inch piece here. Oh, that's going to be plaid. I don't know what I'm thinking. Okay, so we need 2 1-inch pieces out of the plaid, and I'm going to cut it from this end. That way I can flip it over and just use the green side if I want to. So we're going to use, we're going to cut this at 12 by 1, and we're going to need 2 of them. So we're going to have 2 of these pieces, 12 by 1. Okay, there we go. And then we are going to, this bottom edge down here below the punched piece is just the naked page. That's the way I'm going to build this. You could use a base paper if you wanted to, but I'm going to leave that just the naked page and have this area up here and around this area all just the naked page. So the rest of this is going to be punched, and we're going to need to determine which punch we're going to use. But that right now, that's all we're going to use our trimmer for. We're going to come back to that in a minute after we have built this page. Okay, so let's see. I think the bricks may be too much for adding on to this area down here. I think they're going to be too tall because that's pretty significant punch out of the rock paper. We could make it the same. I don't know, actually, the rock paper would be cute, I think. I can't decide. Okay, let's see. I think I want to use this for across the top here. And that will need to be out of the plaid. So let's go ahead and punch that while I'm considering the other. Okay, so we're going to punch the leaves and use this cute plaid with the blue, which you might think, oh, that's kind of odd to make your vine out of plaid paper, but I feel like once we get it on there, all the colors are going to work really well together. And the bits of blue in the plaid will maybe just look like flowers or something. Okay. This punch is super fun, but it keeps getting kind of caught up underneath the bottom. So there's that. Let's do a second one. And if you've never used a CM punch before, we've got these marks on the front that tell us where to start, depending on whether we're feeding our paper from the right or from the left. And so that's how I know where to line the paper up to start. I push it all the way back to this little shoulder that's on the back of the wing, and then I line up this edge with the mark on the front, and then that helps me to get started. And then once I have punched it the first time, I can slide it through until the punched piece matches the blue that's on the wing of the punch. and that's how I know where to punch it again. Really fun, super easy, not hard on my hands. And since, if you've been following my channel, you know that I have been going through carpal tunnel surgery this year. So finding punches that don't stress my hands out is important to me, because it's just so much easier to, it's just easier on my nerves and my joints. So, so I love the CM punches. They are guaranteed, and they always, I want to say always, work fantastic. Very, very rarely, and I've been involved with this company either as a customer or as an advisor for over 25 years. And very, very rarely do I ever run into an issue with one of these. I can't say it's never happened, but very, very rarely does it ever happen. And the company is so good about helping us out whenever it does happen that I just never worry about it. Okay, what if we used this one with this paper on top of, it's going on top of this, so, or possibly this. It actually might end up being this because it'll be a little bit easier to see. I think I'm going to do that. We're going to punch, I'm going to unlock it and open it up, and we're going to go ahead and punch these lower portions using the vine punch. Not to be confused with the leafy vine punch. I pulled these out the other day for a friend of mine who came over and was needing some examples of punches she could use for leaves. And I thought to myself, oh, I really should use that on this layout that's coming up. Now the cool part, or one of the many cool things about the borders that we can punch from punches like this, and give me just a second, I need to just trim this because I tore it, and this is not a CM paper, so there is a white core on this paper which showed up immediately as soon as I tore it, and I didn't want that in the layout. Okay, so we're going to punch this again, and we're going to do another row because I need another one for the bottom here. Now the problem, those of you who are way ahead of me have already seen, the problem is that once this goes inside the punch, I can't see where the end of it is to know where to start. So what you do is you just grab a sticky note. Sticky notes are your friend, and I keep a huge stack of sticky notes very close by. I'm going to line this up on the very edge of my paper, make it as straight as possible, and that way I can see where the edge of the paper is once I have it in here. And I push my paper all the way to the shoulder in the back, and I can still see where the edge of the paper is, so I know where to start my punch. Okay, so just like that. All right. To be a little bit more careful with my right hand because that one is definitely having more of a recovery than my left hand. Some of that I'm pretty sure is just because my right hand is the one that was most recently done. My left hand has been in recovery since the end of May. My right hand has been in recovery since the end of August. So I'm just going to get my Post-it note off. Come here. Silly goose. There we go. Okay. One more piece. All right. So now we can go ahead and assemble our page. Now again, we may need to cut this other photo, which may mean I need to trim photos. It may mean I need to trim other things, but let's just get this part assembled and then we will proceed from there. Okay, so we're going to go like this. Is that right? Maybe it's upside down. Like this. There we go. Okay. So we're going to stick these photos underneath here. We'll get to them in a minute. Let's go ahead and get this assembled. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm just going to lay this out so that I can make sure that things are at the proper height for what I want, and everything is good. Got a little bit of my Post-it note on the corner of that. All right. I'm going to do that like so. This might be a little high. Let's see. I might need to lower that just a bit. So something along that line. All right, let's see. We are going to have a rock bit. Oop. Flip it over. Yeah, I think it goes like that. Now, blue is going to go on this side. Then the blue will go over here. And the rock will go over here. Do you like my green on my finger? I was playing with a permanent marker this morning and it got me. Okay, so this is going to go at the top of the rock wall. We're going to trim it, and then the other portion is going to go here. So same thing with this. But actually, I'm going to turn this around so my leaves are heading that direction, because that's what I'm going to want. That's just a visual cue that's kind of subconscious, but my leaves are growing, pointing that way, so I want them to be on my layout pointing that way. All right, so we're going to come in here and trim this with this leaf, and I'm going to instead of cutting it bluntly, I'm cutting it so that it goes with the leaf. And then this one, we'll cut here. And that will go across the top. Alright, so same thing here. We're going to cut a piece. May have cut it a little bit short, but I think it'll still be okay. And then this one is going to be here. Just make it kind of look like a leaf on the end. All right. I think that's going to work. Now, we actually could probably move it that way just a little bit. Move it up on the page just a little bit. So, let me grab my adhesive and we'll just start getting this part down. So I'm putting that base piece to start things off at roughly 1 1/8 inches from the bottom edge. If that helps. Ooh, I like this side. I should have probably flipped that over. That's pretty. Maybe we'll have another opportunity to use this paper for something fun like that. Okay. All the way into the jeeping and right up snug with our 1-inch strip at the bottom. And this decorative piece goes across the top. I'm putting the center of the vine right on the edge of the cardstock as much as possible. All right. I can never tell which direction it's supposed to go. Okay. All right. So there is the basic layout we're going to do. So when I do this side, I'm just going to be careful and make sure that this strip matches where this strip is on the right side of the layout, and then that way everything will be balanced and at the same level. So I'm just going to start that in the same spot. like so. Okay, so now we're going to flip this over. It's such pretty paper. All right, so let's take a look at the photos that we're working with and see. This is almost too pretty to put a dungeon on, right? The dungeon is very rocky, and so that's part of the reason why I went with this layout. And we may need to trim things up just a little bit. I think that one needs to be first, don't you? And then this one can go here. This one can go here. This sign right here just says ground level openings. This one is a horizontal photo, so it's gonna go here as well. Now the other thing we could do is we could trim one of these horizontal photos and make it the smaller photo that goes over here. But I really don't want to lose too much of any of those, so I'm thinking this one's going to be the best to trim. So let me grab my photo trimmer and I'm just going to trim the rock, a little bit of the rock off, and make this a little smaller, and then we can mat it so that so this measures 3 5/16, which is not an easy measurement. 3 5/16 and 5 1/8. So Oh, look at that. If it was just a little shorter, it would fit on that piece of paper. We could trim that enough that it would fit. I'm trimming it. Some things just are not worth the extra 1/8 of an inch, you know? It's not that critical. Especially since I wasn't being like super careful. Yeah, that'll work. And then we'll trim this up as well. Be really careful if you are using a guillotine trimmer like I am. When you finish cutting, you should always put the blade down, not like what I've done and left that up. I'm not setting a very good example right now. I'm sorry. All right. So this one can go there. And I think the rest of those are going to be good right where they are. So let me grab my adhesive and get these put down. We can use this area up here for journaling. I have a white pen I can use to journal, which will be lovely right there on the blue background. We could not go into the dungeons. They wouldn't. These doors were locked and very well shut. So I don't have any fun dungeon stories for you, unfortunately. But it certainly was interesting to walk in there and see that small bit. We went in this little doorway, and this was really not far inside. As you can see, there's lots of natural light coming in, so it really was not far to go. It was not a huge dungeon, so clearly they did not have a lot of folks that they needed to keep locked up, which is fortunate. So it's going to cover a lot of those leaves on the side, but that's okay. It'll be all right. Now we should add some embellishments to this. So let me, I'm going to grab, I'm going to look at some sticker embellishments for this one. And I don't have a lot of stickers that are appropriate for this kind of thing. So we'll probably do some dragonflies and some shamrocks. Should we put all the joy? Joy that we are not in the stocks, right? Lots of cute little dragonflies though we could use for embellishing. love these dragonflies. They're just so cute. So we can put one right here, and that'll be a good spot because I'll be journaling right here, so that will be a good spot. You can put another little dragonfly kind of flying up this way. Let's see. Ooh, the adhesive on these is so good. Sometimes it sticks really, really well to my fingers. What if we do this one maybe down here? We'll put that little dragonfly down there, and then none of the words really work with this particular grouping, so I'll make another little cluster just with some of the shamrocks, clovers. Put that up here. Or we could put it out here like this. Maybe that would be better. So it's not at the same level as this one, and it kind of draws the eye, gives the eye a place to start. What do we think? I think that's going to work. All right, so this is again the virtual crop for October, virtual crop layout number 3, sketch number 3. And I hope that's been helpful, giving you some ideas of different ways that you can do this sketch. And I will be back next time with more of the castle, more of the Blarney. Thanks so much for joining me. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Enjoy your day.